nwoke eziokwu, nwoke ụwa niile hụrụ n'anya, nwoke omenye ọha, arụ aka Igbo, nwoke ukwu alọtala.
The family of Udensi of Atani village in Arochukwu local government area of ABIA state, southeast Nigeria, recently celebrated the life and times of the patriarch of Udensi dynasty, late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi, who departed this world after 94 years, most of which were spent in the service of God and humanity.
Actually, the departure of war at any age is very painful. But thank God that my father lived a life of fulfillment. Each time he talked to me, he said he's not angry or he's not anxious about himself, but for us. So I just got to know that at 94. It's not that easy to even both here and in America, in the whole world. For one to get up to 94 years of age, it's a glorious feat.
My father was a very, very strong man, a very determined individual, and somebody didn't quite modern because all of us were educated. It does not make any difference to him. If you want an education, if you want a wine, you get it. If you don't want it, he doesn't force it on you. That is as much as I will remember about him, a man that wants to give you what you need, but you must need it.
People good of him, they will always tell me that man is so straightforward. So he's so fondly remembered by the family.
Papa was a great man. He was a good man. Papa was a great man. He was a good man. Papa was a typical example of godliness with contentment. Papa gave us and transferred so many virtues to us. The virtue of integrity, honesty, contentment. Papa had opportunities in his lifetime to enrich himself in the civil service, but he was very circumspect. He lived his life worthy of emulation. In fact, the day he passed away, the women of the community were crying, we have lost a man of honesty and truth. Who will save us? Who will come to our rescue when they are trying to suppress our oppressors? So we are indeed gratified and grateful that God gave us this man.
Atani Arochukwu Kingdom stood still for 2 days as the community played host to an array of dignitaries who trooped out in their numbers to pay their last respect to the patriarch of Udensi dynasty. The carnival-like event, which attracted people from all walks of life, was a celebration of legacy of grace. Late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi was the father of Honorable Chief Sir Nnadozie Udensi, Knight of St. Christopher, and Sir Chikwe Udensi, a renowned philanthropist and chieftain of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, ABIA, who is a frontline governorship aspirant in Abia State in the 2023 general elections. As expected, the body of late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi arrived his community, Atani, in a convoy from the mortuary. There was a brief stopover at Ezearo Palace, where the body was received by the traditional ruler, the leadership, and the entire people of his community.
I didn't see somebody more discipline. A woman now, who did here, and then me, I go in material. I was a disciplined man. Now, Chopper, now, oh, guardian, he may have the room. A woman, I got the
The final funeral rites kicked off at his residence with a Christian orchestral night where his children, other family members who were joined by their friends, the church, congregation, and the entire Arochukwu community. They all turned out in their numbers to bid farewell to the patriarch of Udensi dynasty. It was a night to be remembered, as there was an outpouring of tributes by those who came in contact with him, leaving behind sweet and evergreen memories for the family.
Sir Udensi was, well, pardon me if that word is too much for a human being. I would rather say he was a perfect gentleman. He was upright. He was a man of high integrity.
Honestly speaking, his departure is a great loss to Arochukwu community, is a great loss to Atane community. He's a recipient of the highest award or highest honor in Atane community, and which is the Ubu Atane.
Members of the church choir also made a special rendition to celebrate the patriarch of the Udensi family. The following day, final funeral rites of late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi continued. While lying in state at his residence, members of the family and the Council of Knights seized the opportunity to pay their last respect before his body was taken to the church for a funeral service. Of late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi arrived All Saints Cathedral Anglican Communion, Ugwuavo, Arochukwu, and was received by the Primate and Metropolitan Bishop, All Anglican Church of Nigeria, Most Reverend Dr. Henry Ndokoba, who led other clergymen and women in a special service in honor of the deceased. The late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi was a committed Christian and devout member of the church, where he worshipped for the better part of his life. He was instrumental to several church projects and also played an active role in building the first church hall of the All Saints Church. The late Sir Udensi was also foundation president of the Council of Knights of the Diocese of Arochukwu. At the funeral service, the Udensi family were joined by members of the Council of Knights of the Diocese of Arochukwu, top government functionaries, Arochukwu Council of Traditional Rulers, friends and well-wishers, as well as good people of Arochukwu Kingdom, whose lives late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi touched in one way or the other before his demise. The church auditorium was packed full with guests from both within and outside ABIA State. One of the sons of the late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi, Honorable Nnadozie Udensi, read his father's biography.
Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi was born at Ukwere in the present-day Imo State on the 20th day of February 1928 to Mazi Joseph Nwosu Udensi and Madam Selin Ugwuezi Udensi of Mbekwe Company, Atani, Arochukwu, both of blessed memory. Sir Isi enjoyed a privileged childhood. His father was a church teacher at the time of his birth, and later became an interpreter/butler at the Abakaliki County Council. His mother was a trader, a notable leader, politician, and an associate of the Great Zik of Africa of the NCNC party.
Also at the funeral service was the former governor of ABIA State and chief whip of the Nigerian Senate, Senator Dr. Orji Uzor Kalu. Others include the national chairman of All Progressives Grand Alliance, Ozombu Dr. Victor Ike Oye, the member representing Arochukwu Ohafia Federal Constituency, Right Honorable Uko Ndukwe Nkole. One of the highlights of the service was when Sir Chikwe Udensi, founder and chairman, built a new ABIA foundation. One of the sons of late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi joined the choir for a rendition of their father's favorite hymn. Thereafter, the primate prayed for the deceased family.
Father, in the blood of Jesus Christ, grant them all of good health, grant them all of long life, and so that I will look around myself and will see your figure and say, "Oh, we do this, Lord, you are God."
After the church service, the remains of the late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi was taken to his Ndokoro compound at Atani Arochukwu, where he was finally laid to rest.
And commit his body to the ground, earth to earth. Ashes to ashes. Dust to dust. May the Lord bless him and keep him. The Lord make his face shine upon him and be gracious to him.
One of the greatest legacies we have been show the children the way of the Lord, and they are already doing that. And our ancestors pray every day is that they will not leave this way. They will continue and whatever they have done.
We are burying a patriarch of Udensi, somebody who did his best to create worthy legacy and to maintain a lot of people. In the church, he was willing to give everything. It showed that God is everything, that you can do anything without God. He built a lot of, he contributed in building a cathedral, in establishing churches and so on. He actually said that in the community, he was a very peaceful person, a peacemaker. He was a catalyst for development. The family, he insisted on raising godly children. We lost a key member of us, and we pray God grant his soul to the
We thank God that it's a man that lived to serve God and humanity. And in fact, he left a legacy of integrity, of piety, of service, of sacrifice.
Condolences continued to pour in as more dignitaries stormed Atani Arochukwu to pay their last respect and bid final farewell to a great man many describe as a pillar of his community who made notable contributions to the development of Arochukwu Kingdom and Abia State in general. Notable personalities including politicians, business associates, traditional rulers, representatives of corporate organizations, different socio-cultural groups, as well as members of Arochukwu community, all came to commiserate with the Udensi family on the demise of their beloved father. They all took turns to eulogize the late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi, while urging the children and the family to sustain legacies of their late father.
This is celebration. I wish I can die at 95. That is what I wish. Because it's a great thing. God said we should only stay 70 and this man has been 95. So it's a great thing. I'm very happy to be here because they are family to me. You know that this is very close to me, and Chukwu is very close to me, and all their brothers and sisters.
We thank God because this is life well lived. People come and pass through this world and they have nothing that can be said about them. This man lived a devout Christian, a practicing churchman, a community person, distinguished civil servant, an investor, a wealth creator, and a progenitor of a wonderful legacy. His two sons, Chukwu Udensi and Dozie Udensi, represent the stock of the man, because he's also walking the same line of community service, of love of people, of helping the world to develop, helping the people to develop, sharing what God has blessed them with. That's why I associate with them, because they fear God and they also love humanity.
He led a very quality life and died a great man. So the legacy he has bequeathed, as I said, was legacy of good children, good, successful children, who will keep his memory alive for a very long time. And he did not die in vain. He left behind, memories that will take even centuries before they are forgotten.
One great thing about him was that even at 94, he was driving himself. He was strong, he was healthy, and he was educated. And some of us, when we heard that he was gone, we were surprised because we thought he wouldn't die. But then at some point, he had to be called home. I'm sure he's smiling home. And what you see around Arochukwu today is an epitome of who the man was. Our prayer is that God will accept his soul in repose. And most importantly, we thank God for giving us a gift like him. And we pray that more gifts like this will also be given to this community.
It's a thing of joy that we are part and parcel of this celebration, because it's a celebration of life. Yes, he's going to be with the Lord, but those of us who are alive are celebrating God in his life and also celebrating for the achievements and the legacies he left behind, which one of them is Chukwu Udensi, who we are in his house today. He's not the first son, he's not the second. I think he's the third son. But God, through Mazi, had blessed all of them, and they took the same system, Mazi, because Mazi is an honest, sincere, straight human being who loved God. And his children, especially Chukwu, also following the same trajectory.
It was indeed a celebration of the legacy of grace as the Udensi family gave their late patriarch a befitting burial.
So it was very joyous. that the son should bury the father. It is an abnormal situation for the father to bury the son, because the father must have lived long enough to teach the children the essence of life. And my father did that to us. He taught us good and bad, and he made us to believe that whatever comes your way in honest disposition must be of God. That's why he believes that we should trust and obey. That's one of his songs. Therefore, there's no other way to be happy in Jesus than to trust and obey the Almighty.
He has lived a fulfilled life, a legacy that will never be forgotten. His lives are full of emulation. Today, I will miss him.
He was a wonderful man. My father kept on saying how he was strict, but I always saw my grandfather as a loving gentleman, because I believe that was his favorite granddaughter. I remember back then he always had my baby picture. I was the only grandchild that he had baby picture on the walls, and I felt so cherished. I felt so loved. There's a kind of love your grandfather gives you that no one else can give you, and I felt that from him. He was an amazing man. He was a smart man. He was very smart, very intelligent. He showed us love as his grandchildren, and I'll never forget him.
He had a great life. He lived a great life. In the Bible, it says you celebrate birth and you celebrate death. So he lived a very well-respected life. He's a true legend in our family. He built a dynasty and a legacy for all of us to uphold and maintain and build upon. I remember him telling me, saying, forget about all the social vices. Focus on your education. Once you graduate, all those things follow after. He built the area market. After building it, he returned the remaining money to government. So that is transparency, that is honesty, and that is integrity to build upon that. On behalf of our grandchildren, thank you for giving us parents to give us a good upbringing, which we will use in helping our own children and to keep the Udensi legacy.
Late Sir Emmanuel Chukwuma Udensi shall remain treasured by his many children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and relatives in whose heart he lives forever.
Udensi is a soul and soul, and there is no soul and soil. And the father was a well-known figure in our family who served the land. So they have come to condole and to celebrate because he lived a beautiful life. Udensi is God-fearing, straightforward. He doesn't like the downtrodden, the treated badly. He stands for the poor and the less privileged. He did the service to God and humanity. He built up that Udensi family and dynasty. So we know he was a great man in this country.
Well, Chief Udensi is somebody we know who loves the father. As a personal friend of mine, he had always been talking about the father. So it simply indicates that no other person will meet the father the way he had done. And also, whatever he's doing today is a clear indication that he loves the father. And you can see the crowd that are here. It is clear that we have to be with him at this time.
It's a great loss, and at the same time we are happy for his age, for him to attain the age of 94 years in life and have done all enough to service his God, to serve the society and his family. And we are so happy to meet his children that are doing more than enough, supporting his footpath and following up to what he has left as legacy for all of them.
Sir Chukwuma Udensi has been our member and he happens to be our patron. And you see, there's this celebration of life of his father who left a legacy of grace. And so we have to be part of it. We have to celebrate with him. That is what the word of God says. When one is crying, you cry with that person. When one is celebrating, you also celebrate. And that is why we are here today. We are like, part of his family. What I am telling Udensi today on behalf of Okotokwa Adibo Wanine worldwide is that whatever he is looking for will turn around and locate him. That is my declaration. I'm also saying that divine protection shall be his lot and the lot of his family. I'm also saying that he will never be put to shame. We wish him well.
If Chukwuma Udensi is a father figure, he is somebody that I hold high, and he's somebody that have been quite good and generous to me. And that I could, without mixing words, I know he must have learned all this from his father, the generosity part of it, the kind disposition part of himself, and of course, his ability to think through issues and give a critical and honest view on any subject matter. So I can say that the deceased is a very generous person, having tutored and nurtured the likes of Sir Chukwuma Udensi and the other siblings. He should take heart. He should. This I see as a celebration of life, because Papa lived a very decent life, and one that we have all gathered to celebrate. So he should be consoled by the good lives of the father, and of course the greatest legacy and the greatest appreciation of his father will be for him to continue those good deeds that his father did while he was alive.
As a man, he's a well-known figure in this kingdom, has served in many capacities,
Daddy lived a good life. Equally, he is my in-law. He lived a good life and died at an age that is worthy to be celebrated. So I console them. I tell them to take heart. Daddy lived a good life. So there's no need to cry like people that doesn't have faith. Well, love, oneness, kindness, because I've been able to stay with him. The way he will talk to you, the way what he will ask you to do. In fact, he loved Christ the most. Is the watchword, love of God. On behalf of Arochukwu All Stars, I'm saying adieu, Papa.